I'm Jamila Musayeva, an international social etiquette consultant and the author of 2 books, Etiquette, The Least You Need to Know, and Afternoon Tea Etiquette. For those of you that have been following me on Instagram, you've probably seen for the last month that every Tuesday I've been showing you our table setting at home. And you've been messaging me asking, what is this whole table decor all about? What is this? What are you eating? Can you please tell me where you got this or that? And what does it mean? And so to respond to all of those questions, I've decided to make this video. In this video, you're going to learn about a beautiful holiday tradition called Novruz, and you're also going to learn how to set up a table for Novruz. Before I show you how to set up your table for Novruz, I want to tell you a little bit about the holiday itself. Novruz is a traditional celebration of a new year according to the solar calendar, when the winter ends and the spring begins. Novruz has been celebrated for over 3,000 years, and the purpose of this holiday is to celebrate and acknowledge the beauty and the bountiful nature. In fact, we celebrate here in Azerbaijan widely, and there's a lot of mass celebration, but not only in Azerbaijan. Countries like Iran, Kazakhstan, and other Central and Western Asian countries also do celebrate Novruz, and every country does it a little bit differently, so I'll be showing you how we celebrate here in Azerbaijan. Novruz is actually celebrated on March 21st, that is the actual date of the holiday itself. But the most unusual part of this holiday is that there's a lot of build-up up to the day of the holiday. So every 4 Tuesdays prior to the holiday, this year in 2021, the first Tuesday that we celebrated was February 23rd. And then every other consecutive Tuesday, which was March 2nd, 9th, and 16th, is also celebrated. And these Tuesday evenings in Azerbaijan are known as Chershenbe Axshami, which literally translates as Tuesday evening. You might ask, why are we celebrating 4 Tuesdays prior to the actual holiday? What's the whole idea of Tuesdays? And the truth is, every Tuesday is dedicated to celebrate one of the 4 elements of nature. The first Tuesday is dedicated to water, and water stands for purity, for clarity. The second Tuesday is dedicated to fire, and fire represents rebirth. The third Tuesday is to celebrate the earth itself, that is, rebirth of the nature, revival of the nature. And then the final Tuesday is dedicated to wind or air, and that is to celebrate the arrival of spring. Every Tuesday we decorate our table in pretty much the same manner, except for Tuesday that's dedicated to water. We also add some drinking water on the table to represent that specific Tuesday. Every Tuesday to celebrate Chershenbe Axshami, families gather around at the table in the evening once the sun has set, and they sit around at the table, enjoy dinner, and then enjoy this beautiful table for sweets and tea. I'm going to tell you about each and every one item here, and we'll get into more details very soon. At the centerpiece of our table every Tuesday and then on Novruz is a plant called samani. As you can tell, it's the centerpiece of every table decoration. You could either start growing it yourself, which is the right way, the traditional way. So samani is essentially a green sprouting weed, and you would water this and then wait for it to bud, and then you would cover it with a damp cloth and wait for it to grow. You would sprinkle a little bit of water and make sure that it grows well. Eventually, on the day of celebration, your wheat should grow to become something like this. This is how it should look, and then every time you would be sprinkling some water and making sure that it grows well. The idea of samani is that it stands for, represents the arrival of spring, of harvest, of abundance, of growth. And we usually traditionally tie a red ribbon around it to represent abundance. It's interesting how in Azerbaijani culture, you'll often see red ribbon used in other places, like the day of the wedding. A red ribbon is tied around the waist of the bride by the family member of the groom when she's picked up from her house and taken to the wedding venue. Again, this red ribbon is very symbolic, and you could either do it like this, which is a traditional way, or today you could purchase in a very beautiful flower shops absolutely gorgeously decorated samanis like this one, or very originally done that one. So it's up to you, but this would be the most traditional way. Traditionally, semani would be standing in the middle of honcha. Honcha is a tray that's filled with semani at the centerpiece and all kind of goodies around it. My version is to place semani separately on a table, so I'm kind of breaking the tradition that way by placing it in the middle on its own, and then I have honcha prepared with all kind of goodies for Novruz. We'll start with each one of them. I'll tell you what they represent, and they're very specific and particular for Novruz. First things first, I'll start with my personal favorite Novruz goodie, and that's called goghal. Goghal also symbolizes something from the nature, and if you can take a close look into that, you can see that it represents the sun. So it looks like a big, huge sun. It's prepared by making thin layers of dough and filling the inside the centerpiece with a mixture of different spices. There are two kinds of goghals. There's a sweet one and there's a spicy one. I prefer the one with more spicy, salty texture, and my personal favorite is from all the goods that I'm going to be showing to you is goghal. I love it, it's so yummy. Next, what we have here is sheker bura. It's very, again, specific to Novruz. It is made of dough and it's filled in with nuts and sugar, so they're all blended, and it's very rich in its texture but also a little bit dry, and it looks like half moon, so it represents the moon. Once the dough is prepared, we use this special tool like that looks like thongs, but they have little blades here, like teeth here, and they are good at picking up the dough and making this beautiful decoration on top of it. And then we use our fingers to roll it in to make this beautiful finishing touch to sheker bura. So this represents the moon. There is a trio when it comes to Novruz sweets. So we already looked at goghal, which represents the sun. We looked at sheker bura, which represents the moon. And now we're going to look at pahlava. It's a little bit more rich and sort of syrupy in its texture than the rest of the two, which is why I put it in a specific separate little container like that. I think it looks so beautiful, so traditional. And I fill it in with pahlava because it's so sticky. I don't like them to touch the rest of the sweets. So this is how it looks. Look how beautiful this is. These edges represent the 4 parts of the world. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have north, south, east, and west. And we have thin layers of dough, and every layer is filled again with nuts and sugar. As you can tell, all of this is very fattening. It really goes against anyone who's on diet. So after Novruz, everyone gains weight because it's quite a rich dessert that we eat after having our meal. So this is pahlava. It smells caramelized a little bit, not like it has a nut smell and sugary. It's such a beautiful and warming smell. It is different than the other ones in the way that it's more sticky, more rich, more oily. So from my international friends, when I took all these goodies with me to US, most people preferred goghal, and actually very few people liked pahlava. Don't know why. I guess it's very specific to a region, a country you're from, and what kind of foods you're exposed to. But I think personally it's a very tasty but very rich dessert. The next important element of honcha is beautifully decorated painted eggs. Usually they are painted in all different colors. It's up to you which color you want to dye your eggs in. You would use food dyes to dye it. Sometimes I actually use markers to draw something on them because you're not really supposed to eat them. They're there to decorate and add color to your honcha. You can, of course, if it was fresh, so one day, but if a couple of days go by, then it's better not to eat it. You would boil the egg and then you would dye it, and then you would paint it or draw on it if you would like. I love this activity with my kids where they would just draw whatever they want. In the traditional way, every member should have a corresponding egg. So if you have 4 family members, there should be 4 eggs at least. Of course, you can have more if you want to. In order, if your table is large and you want to decorate it beautifully, you can add more eggs. And egg is there to represent life. So life begins with an egg, and this is a symbol of that. I have here more beautifully decorated eggs, and some of you have been asking me, did you do it yourself? And to answer that, no, I didn't. It was gifted to me, and this is how this looks like. So this is an egg, and there's this beautiful flowers that are attached to it, and then there is another beautiful egg decorated like that. Traditionally, on the day of Novruz, if you are engaged, then the family of your groom would bring a beautiful honcha to you, and usually they would add eggs that look like this, more decorated, more than the traditional eggs, and it just, I think, looks so beautiful and so colorful. So these are my favorite ones. We don't eat them, it's just there to look at. Another thing that is important to be corresponding to each family member are candles. They are symbolic. They should be there every Tuesday. They should be lighted up every Tuesday once the sun is down, and they should be corresponding for each family member. If you have someone who is staying at your home, a guest that's not necessarily your family member, then you should light up a candle for them as well. So I just use a bright little plate that is of my daughter. She loves this kind of colorful plates, and then I would just stick every candle, and each of us would choose a color. For example, she likes a pink color, my husband would get, let's say, green color, my son will get a purple, and I'll get a red, or so we decide on a color, and then we'd put the candle up, and once the sun is down, we would light up the candle and watch them melt. The idea is that that's a traditional belief that whoever's candle lasts longer, they're gonna live the longest life. We usually don't pay attention to this, we try not to look at it, but that's the traditional belief. And it's beautiful because it just lights up the whole table decoration, makes it look so warm. So now let's move to this part of the table, which is another honcha that I have. Again, traditionally this would be a big, large honcha in the middle with samani and everything around it. I like to separate it, so I guess this is a modern way of doing it, because I like to organize them sort of in the categories that they belong to. And then this one is the category where we have placed all kind of dried fruits, all kind of different nuts that you can enjoy with a cup of tea. The final element of my table is a beautiful tray filled with cups, plates, teapot, and sugar. I have here a special kind of sugar. It is caramelized a little bit, and it's different from a regular white sugar. I have this man that represents the guy who brings tea to the table. This is a very traditional way of serving tea. And then I have here cups that have paintings of people in national costume, and then I have a teapot that shows a woman in a traditional dress carrying water on her shoulders. I think this is so beautiful. So this is it, what I have here at my table every Tuesday and on the day of Novruz. The idea is that you're not supposed to have anything that is spicy at the table or bitter at the table. Everything should be sweet, could be salty like goral, but it should never be spicy. On Novruz, we prepare a bonfire, and then we dance, sing around it, and then we jump over this bonfire. We say something along the lines that I hope all my troubles, pain, and fear, and everything bad that has happened to me stays here in this last year, and I start this year with a new life, with a new chapter. I think it's such a good, purifying experience. The idea is that you should be jumping in one direction, so leaving everything in this last year and starting a new one. And the ideal way is to jump 3 or 7 times. But kids love jumping, and they jump and jump, and we lose track of how much they've actually jumped. The day of Novruz itself is traditionally to be celebrated at home, with every family member gathered at the table. It is in a way similar to Thanksgiving in the US, where all the family members would come together and share food and enjoy each other's company. So it's the same notion, but we have this other superstition around it, that if you don't spend Novruz at home celebrating with your family members, if you're out and about, then you would be spending your whole year traveling. So I think in old days this wasn't a good thing. People really didn't think traveling was a good idea, but I think these days people would prefer be traveling the entire year. The days prior to the Novruz holiday are spent cleaning the house, getting rid of old things, buying new things, refreshing your wardrobe, your physical space, everything around you, preparing all these Novruz goodies, painting eggs, so all the families come together and do it together. And on the day of Novruz, we take shower, we'll put on new clothes, we'll visit the graves of our deceased family members and relatives, and then we come home and gather around at the table all together. I really love how this holiday really makes you connected to the nature. It celebrates the nature. It makes you be attentive to it, and it also connects you with your roots, your ancestors, your current family members. On the day of the holiday, you have to make peace with the family members that you didn't get along, and you have to leave all the past troubles in the past and start this new year with a new chapter. I love how it emphasizes forgiveness, it emphasizes empathy, family relationship, and it emphasizes also the cleansing, not only of your physical space, because you have to clean your house before Novruz, but also of your energy by jumping over the bonfire. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful celebration. There are a lot of traditions, beliefs, and superstitions and activities revolving around Novruz. Traditionally, people would leave their doors open because it was assumed that you would be home on the day of Novruz, and so whoever wanted to pay you a visit could do so without having to knock on the door. Today, of course, all of that has changed. People lock their doors and no one leaves them open. Speaking of the doors, on the day of Novruz, children go around their neighbor's house, leave their hats at the doorstep, knock on the door, and then run. The neighbor would open the door, pick up the hat, fill it in with all kind of goodies from the Novruz table, and then leave it again back at the doorstep. The whole fun and exciting part of this activity is that the child that's dropping their hat doesn't want to get caught by the neighbor, and the neighbor wants to see who that child was. So I think it's a very fun and exciting and bonding experience for everyone in the neighborhood. Another activity revolving around the doors is eavesdropping to see if your wish is going to come true or not. The whole idea is that before you eavesdrop, you have to make a wish. And when you listen to what your neighbors are talking about, if you hear something nice, good things are going to happen to you, or your wish is going to come true. If you hear something bad, unfortunately, your wish is not going to come true. This is why on the day of Novruz, people are especially encouraged to talk about good things, because you never know who might be eavesdropping, and you want to make sure that their wish will come true. Now, ladies, for those that are not married, these 3 traditions might be interesting for you, so come up close and listen carefully. Method number 1 is taking your hair, tying it around the engagement ring of someone who's engaged, and then taking a glass of water that's half filled, and then you put the ring on top of that glass, and then you start counting how many times it sways. You count that, and how many years you count, that's the age when you're going to get married. The second method of knowing who's going to get married first is usually, if this would be a family of 3 daughters, they each would pick a wreath and they would know that's theirs, maybe mark it, maybe paint it, then put this wreath on top of a heater, and whichever one buds the first is the one that's going to get married the first. A third way of knowing when and to whom you're going to get married is eating something salty on the night before Novruz. And when in your dream you see someone fetching you a glass of water, if that person is a male, then that's supposedly to be your husband or your fiancé, and you're going to get married that year. If no one fetches you a glass of water, you're not going to get married that year. A lot of the traditions and superstitions around Novruz revolve around creating a family, finding a husband, knowing when you're going to get married. And the reason is because Novruz is celebrating family. It's celebrating connecting with your ancestors, with your family, with nature, revival, rebirth, which is why a lot of its traditions also revolve around creating a family, creating new relationships, starting a new life. Another fun activity that we usually do on the day of Novruz and every Tuesday is knocking the eggs. So each family member holds onto an egg, and then we start sort of fighting with them, and whoever's egg gets broken first loses first. It's a fun and exciting activity not only for children but also for adults. I have shown to you how we decorate our table for Tuesdays as well as Novruz, how we get ready for it, what kind of activities we do during that time, but we also celebrate Novruz in a country as a whole. We have a lot of mass celebrations out in the old town or the main streets. People come together, they sing, they dance, they jump over the bonfire, they eat all this kind of goodies on the street. It's in a way like a spring wonderland, like the winter wonderland, but it's in the spring. Wrestlers or pahlivans, the large bulky men, are wrestling each other, walkers are walking on the ropes. It's a little bit like a circus in a way, It's a lot of fun, very exciting, not only again for children, but very much so for adults. It's a very bonding experience. It brings people together and it celebrates nature and revival all together. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end. I tried to make this video about table setting, table decor, but I also wanted to give you a glimpse of what the celebration was all about and its superstitions and traditions around it. By the way, if you like this kind of content, if you enjoy watching about Azerbaijan, our culture and traditions, please do let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to film videos more about Azerbaijan and everything around its culture. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!